Welcome or welcome back. I am Kris. Not with me today is Kris Jr. He's in school. I'm hoping to have this issue resolved while he's in school so we can start driving the car again. The issue we're having is slow, difficult starting and a refusal to start once the engine is warmed up. The car has also had 3 voltage regulators for the alternator in the last 3 months or so, 2 of them in the last couple of weeks. It was suggested to me that the alternator is not charging the system properly, so one of the things I'll be doing is testing the voltage output of the alternator. I may also take the alternator off and take it down and have it bench tested at our local parts store just to make sure it's working correctly. I already took the car down one time and had everything tested while it was on the car. Battery tested fine. The alternator tested in the low operatable range. It was low, but it should have been functional. The voltage regulator failed again, and like I said, this is the 3rd one. I'm also fairly certain that our starter is on the way out. It's been hard starting for a while. If that's the case, and if nothing else works, I have a brand new in the box starter for this car just sitting around. I got it for my car, but it wouldn't fit. I ended up with having to buy a mini starter, a high torque mini starter for my car. I lost the receipt to that starter, couldn't return it, and now I have a brand new starter for this car just sitting around. So if I have to, I'm going to put a new starter in it. You'll see here in a moment that when the car is completely cold in the morning, it'll start up mostly okay. It'll be a little slow, but it should fire. Once it's warmed up, it is not going to start again until it cools off. It also has a brand new starter solenoid that heats up really badly once the car is already warmed up and you try to start it again. And no, Lynn Running Deer, what you're going to hear in this video is not starter pushback due to too much timing. I promise you. I swear it is not. Okay? The other day off camera, Junior and I tried to run this thing from 6 degrees up to 22 degrees initial timing. Got the same result every time. Whether it was 6 degrees, up to 22 degrees, and a few points in between. When the engine was cold, fire right up. 22 degrees, offered no resistance. Once the car was warm, once it had been running for a while, it wouldn't start at any timing. So it's not starter pushback due to timing you're going to hear in this video, I promise. This is some kind of electrical issue, possibly a dying starter. So let's get into this. All right, the car's been sitting for a couple of days. Let's get into this. Pump the throttle. That might have been our one and only good start. Come on, cold idle cam. All right, it started. I'm going to let it warm up. Now that it's a little bit warm, we're only getting high 12, low 13 volts. It actually dipped into the mid 12s a moment ago. I didn't catch it on camera. Technically that is functioning, but in the past I've had these push 14 to 14.5 volts regularly. I don't know if that's the issue today or not. At the actual alternator, I'm getting mid to high 13s. It was 13.8 just a moment ago. Oops, I slipped. And now I'm getting mid 14s at the alternator. Lynn Running Deer, to prove a point. Right now we are a nice conservative 12 degrees before top dead center, where it seems the happiest. This is also something new that makes me think something's wrong in the electrical system. Our tachometer just started fritzing out, going crazy. Sometimes it'll go up to 3,000 RPMs like that. You know, 3,500 RPMs. That's a new thing. I've checked the wiring on the tach. I can't find any issue with it. I'm wondering if our starter coil or ignition coil is starting to go bad or something. Or maybe this is a product of another bad voltage regulator. I'm not sure. Now that the engine's warmed up, we got a little temperature in it, it's a little heat soaked. Let's give it a couple seconds and let's see if it'll start again. Alright, it actually did start this time. That's actually kind of unusual here lately. It's really not one to start most of the time. We'll give it just a little bit longer, let it warm up a little more, let it heat soak a little more, and see if it'll start then. It's a few minutes later, let's see if it'll start. Huh. But you can't hear how labored that is, which is ridiculous. It's been running a little bit longer now. Let's see what happens. That's more typical of what's been happening lately. If we put jumper cables on it, it'll fire up like it's brand new, no problem. Or if we give it half an hour to cool off, it'll begrudgingly fire up, but it will start again. Neither one of those situations are ideal for daily driving, which is what I'm trying to get this car to do. I'm going to take the alternator off and take it down and have it bench tested here in a little while. It's been half an hour. It's also cooled off quite a bit, even more. Started raining. Yay, good times. Let's see if it'll start. Oh yeah, see? Starter sounds brand new. When everything's cool, fires right up. Gave it half an hour, I don't know, 40 minutes, did some other things, fires up like it's brand new. That is so annoying. It's 2 weeks later, and one of the reasons it's 2 weeks later is I came out last week and I was met with this. Yep, just no power at all, or no power going to the starting system. The dome lights work, the headlights work, the stereo works, everything seems to have plenty of power. There's just none of it getting to the starter. Battery's got some charge in it, just under 11 volts, but that should be enough to at least attempt to kick over the starter. That's not happening. That didn't take long to figure out. This was physically melted into that. So this whole thing has been heating up a lot here lately. If you watched my last video on our electrical problems, you'll remember that my daughter and I got stuck on the side of the road. This wire had melted, and this is our main ignition starter wire from the ignition switch on the steering wheel, and it melted. These two wires fed into this wire, and I happen to have this little thing sitting around, so I used it as a temporary fix, and then I never came back to this and fixed it properly. So I'm going to go ahead and say that this is going to be the issue right here. There are 12 volts coming into this. Let's see if there are 12 volts going out. I'm going to say no. So the battery still has its 11 volts or so. This has between 7 and 9, depending on when you test it. It's hard to tell. I don't think this is a fusible link wire. If it were a fusible link, I think it would have popped completely. It's still transmitting, but it's transmitting very, very low. I don't have anyone here to turn the key for me to mess with this thing and help me out, so I'm going to go get the remote starter switch and see if I can jump the starter solenoid straight from the battery and see if it'll turn over. Huh. I'm going to go ahead and say that the starter solenoid is indeed cooked. Alrighty, well that explains that. The starter solenoid being cooked does explain why I'm not getting any signal to the starter. However, it doesn't explain this other thing. When I get in the car and kick on the key and I push the brake, oh yeah, or the clutch, oh yeah, that's a problem. That means I've jacked something up in the bird's nest. It also means I have some exploring to do, and I don't like wiring exploring. Those couple of attempts at a startup have either killed the solenoid or killed the battery completely, or fried one of our wires, very likely. With jumper cables on and 14 volts everywhere, let's see what it does. Close. Forgot to pump the throttle. Is the key in the ignition? The key was not in the ignition. Now I've killed the battery again. One more chance before I have to go get my kid from school. Alright, so got a dead battery, got a jacked up starter solenoid maybe, but mostly it seems like we have electrical shorts under here. Without the jumper cables, we've got a steady 13 volts going into the battery. Oops. 13.5 going into the relay. And this is already scalding hot. Whoa, okay. Yep, that's the problem. This is absolutely scalding hot. I'm going to have to get some kind of better wiring and fix that. If you saw the video on this is where my daughter and I were stranded on the side of the road. This original wire burned up. These two wires fed into this one wire. It burned out, so I went and I just found this sitting around and plugged it in. It was meant to be like a 1 or 2 day fix. That was August 2024. It is now March 3rd, 2025, and this thing is absolutely scalding hot. This is fine, this is not. So that's actually okay today, the solenoid. So I've got to figure out a permanent solution for this monstrosity. Tack is still bouncing and jumping around. I'm guessing that's an electrical issue between the dash and the engine bay. It is absolutely not going to restart, but I am going to try it real quick before I have to go get my kid. Oh yeah, not a chance. And that was only 5 minutes of running. This battery may be done now. It's low 12s, high 11s after that one cranking attempt. Took the battery out, had it tested at the auto parts store and recharged. It tested fine. Seems to be no problem with the battery. While I was there, I went ahead and got some new battery terminals. I wasn't really fond of the ones that were on it. I came back, I cleaned up all these connections. Some of these are really corroded and rusted where they hadn't been in the past. Reground this, tighten this back up. I don't think any of that's the cause of our problem, but it's something. It's better than it was. I also went through here and I found some loose connections, cleaned them up, sprayed them off with some carburetor cleaner, kind of ground them down. A couple of things weren't making very good connections all through here. I'm sure that's not gonna hurt anything. I doubt it's gonna help, but I am curious. You have got to be kidding me. How does that work? Not great, but it's something. It's Reading the same pretty much everywhere all the way down the line. Huh, weird. I'm gonna let it heat up and let it heat soak and see if it'll restart. It's warmed up a little bit. So far the tach isn't jumping around, which is good. The tach isn't going crazy when I push the clutch or the brakes. I don't understand what that was about. I did look under the dash, and yeah, the wiring's a nightmare, but I never found anything that looked like it was jumping or shorting or should cause a problem. So I don't know what's going on. Cool weather has kept this thing from warming up very quickly. It's just idling here. But I'm going to turn it off, see if it'll restart. Oh my God, like it's brand new. All right, now I've got some other things to do. I'm gonna let this thing run like half an hour, let it truly heat up, let it truly heat soak, and see if it'll start. I don't think I've mentioned it yet, but I can't just take this thing out and drive it to heat it up. There are some broken suspension issues going on right now that we've got to fix. I'm just doing this because I don't have my suspension parts yet. Let's see. Yeah, temperature's still really low. Alternator's charging more than it's been charging. Let's see what happens when we hit the headlights. Oof! Big oof! Whoa! But then it recovers when you give it a little bit of gas. Dang, it idle. It does not like the headlights being on. So far, the tach has not jumped one single time. Hoping this thing is going to heat soak here soon so I can see if it'll restart. This is definitely the most life our alternator's put out in a while. That thing never moves, but that actually says it's overcharging now. That's not good. Here we go. The wires under the hood are heating up, and now this again. Starting to think our new voltage regulator is fried again. That has never done that, and it's not supposed to. Alright, this thing's fairly warm, as warm as it's going to get in this weather. Everything's heat soaked. The tachometer's acting up again. Let's turn it off, see if it'll start. Huh. Super weird. Just fired right up. I am confused. It's been another half hour or so. I've had the headlights on this whole time. That's what the alternator's charging. There's the temperature. It's up to the N and normal, which is scalding hot for this car. I'm going to turn it off and see if it'll restart. Like brand new. Incredible. Those little bitty wiring tricks did all of that. The only thing that I can figure out is these old terminals, these old connections, and the corrosion inside the wiring, and the rust on some of the connections, and some of the loose grounds, and some of these loose wires. We're just causing so much electrical resistance that the car couldn't charge and couldn't run, because now none of this stuff is scalding hot to the touch. Oh, except the voltage regulator, it's scalding hot again. But these wires aren't hot at all, man. These things are, oh, wait, no, that's not supposed to happen. Pretend you didn't see that. I'm gonna go fix that. So that wire that you did not just see pop off here a second ago, this one, the one that now is connected really well. So it turns out it wasn't actually connected at all. The female end of this over here was actually collapsed and closed in, and the male end was just laying on top of it. So there was never any connection, which could have been a big part of our problem. Anyway, I had to turn it off to do that. Let's see if it starts. Like butter. All right, that's it. That's all I can do for now. I know this thing probably needs all new wiring, top to bottom, front to back, but that's all I can do for now. And this is a huge victory because the car's up in the air for broken suspension right now, but we're hoping to fix that here in 4 or 5 days, hopefully this weekend. And when we get that done, we really want to drive it. And this thing has not been drivable here lately because of this electrical issue. So as stupid as this was, I at least got it worked out. As you saw, I'm an even worse electrician than I am a mechanic. However, I was right about one thing. Lynn Running Deer, you have to acknowledge I was right about one thing. It wasn't too much timing. All this hard starting, this slow starting, this grinding down, wasn't too much timing because it did it from 6 to 22 degrees. Now we're at 16 degrees. Let's see what happens. Like brand new, 16 degrees timing. See? Even a broken clock is right twice a day. I will acknowledge, though, I was wrong about the starter. Starter's firing fine. Everything's firing fine. It just, someone. We're just going to stick with someone. No one in particular hasn't been doing any maintenance and checking on connections and stuff. Not sure who that could have been. Yes, I do. It was Kris Jr. I'm blaming him. Yep, it's his fault. I had to come out here and fix his mistakes. I guess we'll see if Junior actually watches these videos. Anyway, thanks for watching. I know it's boring. I know I didn't actually do anything except basic maintenance, but maybe this will help somebody track down a problem of their own. If I haven't said it lately, Kris Jr. and I are extremely grateful for anyone who watches these videos, shares these videos, comments on these videos. It means the world to us. Thank you very much. I know some of these are dull, dry, and boring, and mostly I know you're here for Junior, not me, but sometimes I just have to do what needs done, and he can't be here for everything. I'm trying to get this car together so he can drive it. Thanks for watching. God bless. Appreciate it.